Hi you guys, we are back with my Crypto 101 series, and today we're going to be going over initial coin offerings, aka ICOs. Now these ICOs are like the IPOs of crypto, alright? Granted, they do have a lot of similarities, they also have a lot of differences from an IPO, alright? I'm going to go over all the similarities, all the differences, all the risk, all the rewards, everything you need to know about these ICOs before you decide to make an investment into it. But before we get started, welcome back to Getting Digital with Deja. Alrighty, let's first go over the textbook definition of an initial coin offering. Initial coin offering is a way for new crypto projects to raise money. A startup sells digital tokens to the public in exchange for established crypto like Bitcoin or Ethereum, or for cash. Unlike a traditional stock IPO, buying an ICO token doesn't automatically give you ownership or voting power in the company. So you might have heard me mention an IPO, okay? So an IPO is an initial public offering. So what that means is that a company is now making shares of their company public, okay? So it's not crypto, this is for the stock market. They're making shares of their company public to where you have voting power, you have ownership, and things of that such. One of the most popular IPOs to this day is going to be the SpaceX IPO, which was not dropped too long ago, just a few months ago. SpaceX is Elon Musk's company, deals with a lot about space and technology and aviation and all those things like that. And that was a really big deal because it was going public. It was allowing people like you and I, retailers, to be able to buy into the stock. Or for these ICOs, the initial coin offerings for the crypto market, it's a lot different because you're not necessarily buying ownership. A token does not get you ownership, all right? That's not how it works. It doesn't get you ownership into the company. That's not how it works. It just gives you ownership of that coin. Okay, just like the US dollar. The US dollar doesn't give you ownership into the US government. It just gives you ownership of that dollar, essentially. And because there is a lot of less regulation surrounding the crypto market in general, these ICOs are completely decentralized and you can definitely get scammed. So you have to do your due diligence and your research when looking into these ICOs. And I'm here to teach you exactly how to do that. So the first thing that happens when you have these ICOs before they go public, you're first going to see the white paper. So the white paper is just a document explaining the token details, the token economics, how it works, the project details and things like that. Just basically all details that you need to know surrounding this project and this cryptocurrency coin. Then after that, you have the sell. So the sell is the startup date. So that's basically saying when everything is going to get up and running in the ecosystem and the ledger is going to start doing its thing. And then you have the price rules on top of that. So whatever pricing rules they have placed onto that token within the smart contracts and things like that of that such. And that's when they have the sell, is when they start selling the tokens to the public in exchange for a more popular crypto coin like Bitcoin or Ethereum, or for cash. So after you have the sell, you have the token distribution, which is when those crypto coins that these people buy from these ICOs, those are then transferred into their crypto wallets, and now they have those in their crypto wallets and they're owners of that coin. So you have two different ICOs, which are going to be security tokens and utility tokens. And utility tokens are essentially where you are paying for a coin that is offering you a service or access to a platform, while security tokens act as a financial instrument. So you're able to invest inside of these tokens and they are essentially supposed to be giving you a dividend or a profit from this investment that you're putting in. So let's talk about the risk and reward. All right, we're going to talk about the rewards first, get the good stuff out the way, and then we're going to go back to the bad stuff. So the rewards for this is a high upside. So when you're buying into these ICOs, you are buying this coin at a dramatically discounted price than you were going to buy it when it finally hits the blockchain. And when I say when it hits the blockchain, I just mean before public trading actually is accessible. All right, so that was a good thing. Now we're gonna go into the risk, because there's a lot of risk when it comes to crypto, all right? A lot of rewards, but even more risk. So you are subjected to scams, and you really have to do your due diligence and research with these ICOs because, like I said before, they do not have a lot of government intervention and a lot of regulation on these ICOs. So they are very prone ICOs are very prone to manipulation and scandals and scams. So you have to really be on the lookout for that. And another risk you have is that there is no guarantee that this project is going to do good. Just because a lot of people are buying into it and a lot of money is being dumped into this ICO doesn't automatically mean that the project is going to succeed. The project can definitely fail, or the people who are in charge of the project can just abandon the project as a whole and run off with the funds, aka a rug pull. But I talked to you about a rug pull in my other episodes if y'all want to go watch that. Now, we don't want nobody rug pulling us or running off with our funds, or we don't also want to be non-knowledgeable on the project. So that means the team, the liquidity pools, and like the long-term vision and how they're going to get there and things like that. Before you invest into an ICO, you need to know all of these things. So I'm going to teach you how to not get scammed, or how to try to not get scammed, because I can't make any promises, in crypto by following these few rules. So we're going to go over how to research an ICO safely, okay? I feel like that's the number one rule, and everything else just kind of falls under its umbrella. You have to have that safety research done, and that will give you a lot of answers to any questions that you have. Now, the first research that you need to do on these ICOs is the team, all right? With technology these days, everyone has a page, has a platform, and things like that. If they're legitimate, they have little check marks and all that. Look for those things. Don't just go on Google and just ask, is this legitimate or anything like that. Go to their LinkedIn page. See if they have a LinkedIn page linked to their platform or linked to their cryptocurrency coin. And don't just say, oh, they have a LinkedIn when you see it, so they're good to go. No, check the members, see how long they've been there, see what else they've done in the previous year, see if they're even into technology, if they're even into crypto, if they're even into finance. See all of those things. See that the things that they're doing in the outside world, these are things that you need to pay attention to and really hone in on before you decide to place any money inside of an ICO. All right, you guys, because the team can be very fraudulent. Stay away from anonymous team members, because when a team is anonymous, no one is there to take the blame if anything goes wrong, and you want to be able to blame someone. All right, you want to be able to try to get your money back if possible. You want to be able to try to do something, but you can't do anything if you don't even know where to start, because you don't even know who created the coin. Next, read into that white paper, okay? An ICO coin, or just any crypto coin in general, its white paper is going to give you the in and outs of this crypto coin, okay? It's just like in legislature, when you have an act and you go on to the government websites and you look up that act and you see every single detail about that act within that document. That's literally the same thing that you're going to be doing with these white papers when it comes to this crypto, these ICOs. You need to make sure that this ICO is addressing a real life problem, and not even just addressing it or just exposing it. What's its solution to this problem that's going on right now? And then what's their roadmap to getting to it? What is their technical skills? What sets them out from any other cryptocurrency out there right now? Those are the things that you need to be looking for. You need to look for value and longevity inside of this white paper, and don't let them sell you a dream. Really let them give you a roadmap of what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and if they have timelines, like actual years of when they plan on getting these things accomplished, that's even better. Now, I will say a lot of white papers do not have actual timelines of the years that they have it on, but some do. All right, every white paper is completely different from the next, but they should hold the same details as far as the tokenomics and things of the project. And beware of big buzzwords or just grand promises and things like that when you have these white papers. If they're promising you unlimited yields and all this other stuff, that could be a scam. All right, we got to be more realistic when we're investing into these ICOs. We don't want to be living on a dream. All right, we want to be very optimistic, but then very safe at the same time. So the next thing we're going to be checking for is the code transparency. We need to know everything there is about this source code. So we need to know that it's open source, if developers have been working on it, if there's been progressions with the source code, and if other people have access to it as well. So you are able to find out all those things on this really cool platform called GitHub. Now, GitHub is essentially a platform to where these projects are stored on it, and it tracks the source code and software updates for all of those projects on that platform. So you're able to see everything. It's total transparency. Developers are able to switch around and work on different parts of the source code without interfering with each other. It's really, really good, and a lot of projects will store their software on this platform so that the developers can continuously work on these things. Now, Just because it's on GitHub doesn't mean it's 100% legitimate, but it seems a lot more legitimate than a source code that has not been worked on by developers, has not had any advancements, doesn't have a community behind it, like working on things and bettering the source code. And even if it was a legitimate thing, if there's no developments being made on the source code, it's like, there's new crypto coming out every single day, being better than the next. You want something to always be constantly developing and progressing with its source code and its software to make the project really stand out and unique and worth your money. Now we're getting into the community sentiment. This is another research pillar that you need to have. You need to go through their Telegram. You need to go through their Reddit, through their Discords, through any community-based platforms that they're available on. You need to go and do your due diligence in your research. Go through their conversations. See if they're talking about the different milestones that their project is hitting. See if they're talking about different debates and controversies within their project or within the world that they're trying to change and things like that. If you see their Discord or their Telegram is only talking about getting rich quick and making money and you having yields and dividends and things like that, that's not necessarily something you want to get into, especially if they're just promising you money. You want to hear very healthy, like logical and statistical type of debates, and you want to see those milestones of how they're broadcasting to the public on what they're doing, how they're doing it, and their timeline of doing it as well. The more transparency within these communities, the more legitimate that coin is going to look. All right, our next and last pillar that I have for this safety of these ICO research is going to be those smart contracts. You need to really, really dig deep into those smart contracts. This must be like one of the most important factors when it's coming to investing in these ICOs, is reading into these smart contracts. You need to make sure that those smart contracts and those sales of those contracts are basically audited and looked over by a cybersecurity firm to prevent any loopholes from them being able to do something faulty with that contract, or even for there to be any backdoors or any hacking or anything like that. You really want another set of eyes that has audited and looked at these smart contracts before you decide you want to go and buy this ICO. And it's public information, especially with all these AI tools that we have these days. You can really do your due diligence and really get every single pillar that I just mentioned to you, as far as the white paper, the logistics, the team members, the source code, the smart contracts, all of that. All of this is at your fingertips. You can even use ChatGPT if you really wanted to look up a lot of these things, or at least find the sources to be able to get the information for these things using ChatGPT, which is as of right now is a free service. I know you can pay for the premium, but hey, do what your heart pleases. Now, you guys, pause while I go on a tangent really quick. I used to actually really be against ChatGPT. Like, I don't like how it takes away us as humans using our brains to do things, and it's just like taking over for us. And they're even like developing ChatGPT to where like AI is like reading these books, learning how to do things, learning its history, and then they're destroying the books after AI learns it and how to do it. I think that's quite absurd. But it's here, it's around, it's very resourceful if you do use it. Like, it has an abundance of information, and I find it not that biased. I feel like Google is a lot more biased than ChatGPT. But if you're old-fashioned girly like me and you just want to research it on your own and just like literally go through different websites finding the information that you need instead of relying on one source like search engine to be able to do it for you, that's pretty cool. Very admirable. That's what I do with all of my research that I do for these videos. But if you don't want to take the time to do that and you're just trying to find the information quick, I'm not blaming you if you use ChatGPT for that. Alrighty, now that we've gone over how to safely research these ICOs before you decide to put a penny or even a cent of a penny inside of it, we are going to go over the most famous ICOs in history. All right, so the first ICO we're going to be going over is Ethereum. Launched in 2014, their ICO literally gained $18 million, around $18 million from this ICO sale. It sold for 31 cents a coin. Ethereum, could you ever imagine Ethereum being 31 cents a coin when it's like thousands of dollars now? It's insane. It's quite insane, all right, you guys? But they raised $18 million, all right? And it was the pioneer of modern ICOs. They did it with a bang, and they did it real good. But they were not the biggest ones in this ICO game. Not even close. This $18 million doesn't even come close to the next one we're about to go over. But I do want to say something that is very strategic and unique about the Ethereum ICO is that it introduced the idea of smart contracts, all right, which made it the second largest cryptocurrency in the world, right behind Bitcoin. So these smart contracts really made it nice and booming, which is why they were able to raise it up to that 18 million price point profit. All right, let's go over the biggest ICO in history, raising around 4 billion with a B dollars profit. All right, you guys, raising around $4 billion. They did this between 2017 to 2018. This is EOS. Now, this platform is really like hasn't been talked about a lot in the crypto world, in my opinion, but basically it's just for like dApps and things like that of that such. Now, this network, it really is amazing how they did that, because they had their ICO sell for a whole year from 2017 to 2018. So that means that they ran this sale for a whole year, which is another reason why they were able to make $4 billion, the biggest ICO sale in history. All right, you guys. But just because it was the biggest sell in history doesn't mean that it was the biggest project and had the most success in history. That's actually the complete opposite, which is why I was saying there is no guarantee. These ICOs can raise a whole bunch of money and still fail. And that's exactly what this EOS did. So even though they raised a lot of money with this platform and with this cryptocurrency coin in the ICO, they didn't live up to the hype. So when the hype died down and they weren't able to like give off what they said they were going to give off with these profits and the progression and things of the platform, they were actually fined by the SEC in 2019 for about $24 million. All right, that's 0.58% of their revenue. All right, so getting fined $24 million off of a $4 billion profit, I will take that any day. Quite literally. All right, and that's because the reason they were fined is because it was basically kind of mischievous. They were not living up to the things that they said they were going to be able to do after raising all of that money. Now, granted, the SEC did not technically have jurisdiction over all these things because it was still wishy-washy on whether the SEC or the CFTC had control over these things, the futures community. So it was a little bit off, you know, but the SEC has been really like, they've been on these crypto boys' butts, all right? They sued XRP, Coinbase, like a whole bunch of people, all right? They're just suing back and right because they were just like, we don't have jurisdiction over this. We don't like it. We don't know that much about it. And so we're shutting it all down is essentially what they did. Now, I do want to clarify, they did not shut down EOS, but they did fine them boys $24 million. It's a pretty big penny. All right, now let's go over the second largest ICO in history, which is going to be Telegram. All right, we love Telegram. Anybody in crypto, y'all know we love that Telegram. All right, now Telegram is the second largest one, coming in with a profit of 1.7 billion with a B dollars that they made from their ICO offerings. Now, I will say, the SEC wasn't really liking them either. They weren't. They actually, ultimately, they basically said, y'all can't even launch this. This can't even go public, because they were selling unregistered securities in the SEC's eyes. They're like, nope, we're shutting down this project. But the open source code of the platform, of the Telegram TON platform, it survived all of this. So it's still up and thriving and things like that. But the SEC did come and try to regulate what they were doing. And even though it raised $1.7 billion, they did have a lot of backlash from the SEC for doing this for quote unquote unregistered securities. What these things are going to become very clear in the future as we have the Clarity Act, the Stablecoin Act, Genius Act, and all those things like that, the DCIA Act, which I'm doing a video on next time. You have all these different acts that are bringing a lot of clarity into the market. So SEC can't just go run and shut down stuff or, you know, basically sue people just because they don't know what's going on. Nope. But at that time, they definitely could, and they definitely did. So our very last coin we have on our list today is going to be Filecoin. Its ICO launched in 2017 and it raised around $257 million. Now, this is a very successful ICO, a very successful campaign and fundraising. And I say that because it was one of the utility coins that was able to actually grasp the attention of institutional buyers, okay? Because it was used as a decentralized platform for data storage, okay? So a lot of these institutional buyers, like banks and things of that such, and government governments were wanting to go in on this coin, raising $257 million, and it just proved that utility coins can be able to raise a lot of money from institutional buyers. It doesn't just have to be retail buyers. Now, that is what really changed the scope of these ICOs and just really gave the momentum for even more ICOs to come in the future. So, like I said, I listed all these strategically on my list because I wanted to show you how an ICO can be really big and you get lots of rewards from it, like you did with the Ethereum one, or how it can be super, super big and actually fail, which happened with EOS, or it can be super, super big thanks to institutional buyers, which is what's happening with this Filecoin. Or the other one that I went over, Telegram, how they can still be very successful, but they have all these regulations placed onto them by the government to where it's like really slowing down the process and the rewards that are coming from that. So I hope this video taught you everything you needed to know about ICOs. Now, I just gave you a blueprint of how to safely research an ICO, the things that you need to research. And if anything you think you want to know even more about these ICOs that I did not mention in this video, do your due diligence and get to know that information. Like I said, there's so many avenues, so many platforms, so many AI tools that we can use to be able to get this information. We literally have the World Wide Web in our hands, at our fingertips with our phones. So there's no reason why we should not be researching this information before we place a penny or a cent inside of these ICOs. Now, they are a lot different from IPOs. Remember that I said IPOs are much more regulated and they have a lot more government intervention. But with these ICOs, it's completely unregulated, completely decentralized, and it's on you to do your due diligence and your research to make sure that you don't get caught up in a scam, because those scams are not illegal and a lot of the times you don't get your money back. So I just wanted to make this video to try to like bypass that part for y'all if y'all listen to me. But if you don't listen to me, you can come back on here and tell me you should have listened to me. We love that. All right. But that is everything that I have for today's video. Go ahead and comment and subscribe as well. Let me know what you guys thought of this, and I will have my next video coming out in one day. All right, we're putting these videos out very quickly and consistency. And also, I want to let you guys know that I'm going to start talking more about the acts in the legislation that's going into crypto. So we've gone over what crypto is, how it works, the technology behind it. Now we're going to get into the legislation behind it and showing you the things that has been passed and the things that are in the process of being passed by the Senate and the House of Representatives, because it's very important for you to know this legislation so you can know the roadmap of where this crypto world is going, and it's going pretty far, you guys. All right, but before I end this video, I wanted to remind you that pretty girls can do crypto too. All right, see you guys next time.